Hi guys, how are you? I'm finally here to answer some questions that you have about living in Oman. I've wanted to do this for quite a while now, but as it turns out, it's really awkward to stare at a camera and talk to it because there's not a face there and it's just strange. So I'm gonna give it a try and see how it goes. Maybe it's completely horrible, but anyway, you'll learn something hopefully along the way. Okay. If you hear tapping, that's just them fixing the bathroom upstairs because it's leaking into our ceiling. So for today's question, I decided to go with the basic one that most people ask either right off the bat or are too nervous to ask because they feel like they should know. But I'm just gonna answer it for you now so that you don't have to feel awkward, and that is, where is Oman? The first thing to remember is that when I say Oman, I am saying Oman. That's with an O. Not Amman with an A. Amman is a city in Jordan, and although it's pretty close to us, relatively speaking, it is not in the same country. So to find Oman, you look at the Arabian Peninsula as a boot, and we are basically the toes. We have land borders with UAE, which is where you have Abu Dhabi and Dubai, that's to the north of us. You have, to the west is Saudi Arabia, and kind of southwest is Yemen. So those are who we share actual land borders with. Then you have sea borders, which are pretty close to Iran and to Pakistan. So that's our kind of immediate neighbors. I live in Muscat, which is the capital of Oman. It's a pretty big city, and hopefully I can show you more of it and answer your questions about it. But the name of the city is Muscat. Again, this is not the same as Moscow, which people also hear when we say that. The way that you can tell the difference is, well, basically the hats. As we're on geography, I thought I would show you a bit of the variety of geographic kind of regions that we have here. Certainly I was guilty of this, but when I pictured moving to somewhere in the Middle East and the Arabian Peninsula, I just pictured a lot of sand dunes and camels. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of sand dunes and there are a lot of camels, but there are a lot of different areas as well that I think most people don't really even consider. In Oman, we have some very different landscapes. Along with the desert scenes, we also have some really spectacular mountains, which are relatively green when you get to the top and much cooler, so they're a nice place to go in the summer. They do occasionally get a little bit of like snow and frost even, which I didn't really think was a thing that happened in the Middle East ever, but they do. I went camping last February with a friend who was visiting. Hi, Katie. And it froze in our tent, where our condensation from our breaths actually froze on the inside of the tent. It was that cold. In the northernmost part of the country, in Musandam, there are fjords. Who knew? Again, seems totally Scandinavian thing, and it is like an Arabian version of the fjords. It's not like green and lush and weird, but it is these kind of fingers that go out into the sea and make these little inlets everywhere, and there's some mist, and it's all very kind of spectacular, I've heard. I haven't been yet, and hopefully I can go and take some pictures for you. Then we also have Salalah, which is one of the bigger cities, and it's down near the Yemen border. It gets a lot more rain than anywhere else, so it has some really lush landscape, forests even, the frankincense trees grow there. It's really, really green, and another place that I'm dying to see. For the size of the country, Oman has a ridiculously long coastline, so there's a lot of really beautiful seascapes along there. If you're interested in diving and have any questions about that, I started doing that this year, so there's a lot to say about the sea life as well. Okay, now you know where to find Oman on the map. You also know that we are not in Jordan, and we are not in Russia, and there are a lot of things to see other than sand dunes and camels, though they are pretty cool. So that's it for the first video. I hope that my technical skills were strong enough I could get some visuals in there for you. And I hope that you learned something despite it being slightly awkward for a first attempt. Next time, I'll answer the second question that I often don't get asked because people feel awkward about it. And that is, is it safe? Until then, have a good week, and I will see you next time. Bye.